Welcome to Creating Calm Parenting with Mind, Body, and Spirit. I am your co-host, Corinne Cayce. I'm an integral life coach, a lifelong student of the Edgar Cayce readings, and a mother of 2 children. And I'm here with my friend and co-host, Arlene. Hi, Arlene.
Hi, Corinne. It's Dr. Arlene Dijamco. I'm an integrative physician, a pediatrician, and cranial osteopath, and mom of 4. And we are really happy to be here with you today. And we have a special episode. We have a special guest. And before we introduce her to you, which we so look forward to doing, we are going to start in the way that we usually do, with Corinne offering a grounding meditation to help us open this sacred space for this very special conversation.
Yeah, all right. Thank you, Arlene. So to begin with, let's just let our attention turn inward. If it's appropriate for you to close your eyes, you're welcome to, or you can bring a soft gaze toward the ground in front of you. And just let your awareness sink down into your feet. Feel the pressure of the soles of your feet against the ground. And in your mind's eye, see a spot in the sole of each foot where you can feel yourself connecting down to the earth. And let your awareness travel up to your seat, to your low belly, to your hips. And invite your breath down into your low belly, softening and grounding. And let your attention travel now to your heart space, to your chest and your shoulder blades. Touch in with the beating of your heart. And now bring your attention to your jaw, the base of your skull and your neck, to the back of your head and the top of your head, your face. And feel your breath. And here is your breathing body. Right here, right now. All right. Thank you so much. So as Arlene mentioned, we have a really special episode today. We're having our first interview with Dr. Gladys McGarey. And among those people who have been part of bringing the material found in the Edgar Cayce readings into the world over the last 90 plus years, there are a few giants. And Dr. Gladys McGarey is one of those giants. Her work with her friend and my grandfather, Hewlin Cayce, and Dr. Bill McGarey, to bring to life the health readings, to make them accessible, to live them, to experiment with them, and to share what they have learned, form the foundation of what we now have as our understanding of the health readings. We are so honored to have Dr. Gladys with us here today on the podcast, not only because of her groundbreaking work in the field of medicine and her special connection to the Edgar Cayce readings and the A.R.E, but because of the special connection she has to parenting, not only as a mother to 6 children and a grandmother and a great-grandmother, but also as a student of the Edgar Cayce readings on family and home. She co-authored with Dr. Bill McGarey, There Will Your Heart Be Also, just a beautiful book about the Edgar Cayce readings on marriage and home. I've known Gladys throughout my life, and it is such a joy and deep honor to have her with us today.
It really is, it's walking way down memory lane.
Yeah.
Happily.
I know. Thank you so much, Gladys.
Yeah.
Before we start, I do want to just honor Dr. Gladys McGarey with an introduction. So to catch up, everyone, in case you are not familiar with all that she's done. So Dr. Gladys McGarey, MD, MDH, was born in 1920 and is internationally recognized as the mother of holistic medicine. As a founding diplomat of the American Board of Holistic Medicine, she has had a family practice for more than 70 years through which time she has tirelessly championed holistic medicine, natural birthing, and the physician-patient partnership. She is the co-founder and past president of the American Holistic Medical Association, now called the Academy of Integrative Health and Medicine, co-founder of the Academy of Parapsychology and Medicine, and was one of the first Western doctors to regularly utilize acupuncture in the United States. Dr. Gladys was also an early advocate for home birth. Her innovations for natural birth include the Baby Buggy program, founded in 1978, which featured a fully equipped paramedical and emergency transport vehicle for home births, and pushed the Arizona hospital system to welcome partners in the delivery room. In 1970, she co-founded the A.R.E. clinic in Scottsdale, Arizona, where she pioneered the integration of allopathic and holistic medical practices, laying the groundwork for the cultural shift that recognizes alternative and holistic medical modalities. She also co-founded the Scottsdale Holistic Medical Group. Dr. Gladys's work continues through the Foundation for Living Medicine, a nonprofit that works to expand the knowledge and application of holistic principles through scientific research and education. Dr. Gladys lives and works in Scottsdale, Arizona, where she has recently become a great-great-grandmother. She currently has a life consultation practice, maintains a healthy diet, and achieves a daily 3,800 steps with her walker. She rides a tricycle named Redbird and enjoys a good piece of cake now and then. So welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for allowing me to speak with you and your group, your community.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Gladys. So maybe you could start off by sharing with us how you were introduced to the Edgar Cayce readings and sort of how they impacted your work and your life and your your philosophy and practice of living medicine.
We came as a family from Ohio, Roseville, Ohio, in 1955. There were 4 children at that time, and 2 more arrived after we had settled in here in Phoenix. But when we came to Phoenix, the book Silent Spring by Rachel, what's her name, John?
Carson
had just been written. And it was a whole new area for us to start looking at. And of course, she was talking too about what Cayce was talking about, and one thing, and that just led us straight into the Cayce work. We were when we created our office there in Phoenix here, and one day we saw that there was a person named Corinne Cayce who was going to be speaking at the local high school that evening. And so we went, and that's when we met Corinne, and we immediately, after he'd finished his talk, we went to the place where there was a coffee shop, and we stayed up until they kicked us out, talking to each other about what it was that we were beginning to see as our future. And Corinne was just, he was a genius. He could look in a direction and point you right in that direction. In fact, I'm going to push this ahead a little bit. The Academy of Parapsychology and Medicine started because about 10 years after that, we were into the work that we were doing with Edgar Cayce. And Bill and I had gone on a personal retreat, the two of us. And the morning that we got up at that morning, Bill had had a dream the night before. And in the dream, he had seen Corinne at the foot of the steps. And Corinne said to him, "You need to start an academy for parapsychology and medicine." So we started the Academy of Parapsychology and Medicine. And with wonderful and so on and so forth went on. It's been a miraculous journey where the steps that needed to be taken have been presented as I identify the and we've just gone on. It's been awesome. I don't have the words to say how awesome this has been, this journey, and it's not done yet.
Yeah.
You know, just ongoing. And it certainly includes children.
Yeah. Maybe could you speak to us a little bit about about the A.R.E. clinic in Scottsdale and what that was? How did Hughlin, was he involved in that process for you all as well? And what was that like?
Oh boy. Yes. Bill and I had started our Scottsdale, no, we started our practice then as just our own office. And while we were in Israel with a group of A.R.E. people, the first trip of people that went to Israel and Palestine and all, we were impressed with how the kibbutz were working. And so the night that we saw a kibbutz and how it was working, we came back and spent the night talking about how we could take our office, our work with the patients, and become like a kibbutz where we were everybody there was part of the working process. And Hughlin and 3 other members of the A.R.E. board of trustees were in the group. We presented our idea to them. And so we came back and in 69 started the A.R.E. clinic, which was based on the medical work and the readings of Edgar Cayce. And Hughlin and the other 2 members who were in the group were board members of the first board of for the A.R.E. clinic. And that became a focal point from which Bill wrote a newsletter called Pathways to Health that actually was sent around the world, and people learned about A.R.E. They learned about all kinds of different things. But every month he sent out a newsletter that had something to do with work that Edgar Cayce had been writing about.
I know. I think we still read some of those newsletters from the archives to help. There was such amazing research and exploration that you all were doing then in terms of bringing the health readings to life and trying them out with people that were still, you planted these seeds that I think are still growing and are still alive in terms of understanding how to be truly healthy, happy and healthy, that combination.
In fact, that's how acupuncture came into this country, because Bill had sent out a newsletter, and a mailman in Maine wrote us a letter, answered in the newsletter, and he said, I got your newsletter, and you were talking about using a castor oil pack on your neck for a sore throat. He said, I had a sore throat, and so I used the castor oil pack on my neck. My ankle cleared up. And he said, my ankle had made it so that I hadn't been able to walk my route, which is a postman. He said, I couldn't walk my route because I'd injured my ankle. So when I used the castor oil pack on my neck, my ankle cleared up. He said, if you can explain that to me, I'd be really happy. And Bill and I looked at each other and he said, "What in the world?" We don't know what happened. So Bill, the next newsletter that went out, Bill said, if anybody out there knows why this mailman's neck cleared up when he used a castor oil pack on his uh, neck. No, his ankle cleared up when he used it on his neck.
Mm-hmm.
And we got a letter back from a Dr. Ian Urquhart in Italy. How come I remember that name? Anyway, Ian Urquhart said, if you guys knew anything at all about acupuncture, you would understand that the meridian that starts up by the nose and comes down the neck and down the leg to the ankle, when the blockage was lifted at that point, it was lifted for the whole meridian. And so the whole aspect of acupuncture was presented to us. And Bill and I looked at each other and we said, now what is this acupuncture?
Uh-huh.
And so the next newsletter that went out, he wrote that, and we began getting letters and answers from all around the world, from China, from Japan, from people who were in the A.R.E. at different places, saying, well, this is what acupuncture is. And so we got started with the whole business of acupuncture. It's been an amazing, amazing journey.
So amazing.
Incredible.
Yeah.
And speaking of castor oil, there was a chapter in your book, Love and Miracles, where you suggested the use of castor oil for a mother, a pregnant mother. She was bleeding and there was a threat of a miscarriage. And so you told her to put castor oil on her belly and to talk to her baby's soul. And
Yeah.
what your baby needs right now is your love.
Yeah.
And just to have a conversation. And then the miracle that happened afterwards when the baby did in fact get carried to term and was born, but you saw a scar. You said he had a scar from a cleft lip and palate that we would call a hair lip at the time. This was a serious condition that can take many surgeries to correct. I've never seen one heal on its own, but this one appeared to have done precisely that. So, I mean, this is a whole combination of like castor oil and the vibration of that and being able to carry a message and be able to speak with the soul of this being that was growing within her, and then the miracle that you all got to witness after that.
Yes, when I picked up that baby and looked at his little face, I said to his mother, the master surgeon was at work while you were carrying this baby, because there is this repaired hair lip that I have never seen on a newborn. I told that story at an A.R.E. conference the next month, and a woman came up from the audience afterwards, and she says, my son has the same scar that you're talking about, but that's after 25 surgeries. Because he was born with a hair lip, but they got it repaired. So it was that kind of a connection. You know, what's so amazing about loving life the way it is the way it connects itself with what it is. I'm just in constant awe of the connection that goes on as life continues to grow and reach out to life itself. It's awesome. Not just with different people, but especially with your own children.
Yeah. If we talk some about castor oil and different ideas from the readings that are particularly applicable to caring for our children, in our homes. And I wonder, Gladys, if you could share a little bit, like when you recommended to to your patient who was pregnant to put castor oil pack on her belly and speak to her belly, speak to the baby, what do you feel like? What was the combination between the castor oil, talking to the soul? What were you creating there? What were you opening for the possibility for through those different encouragements?
Let me just tell you, my kids say they're going to put on my tombstone, "Here she lies in spite of castor oil."
Right. I know. I know. I've quoted you on that. It is so amazing.
Well, you know, castor oil has been called the palm of Christi, the palm of Christ.
Right.
So it's for eons, it's been known to have healing qualities that sort of transcend the what we call the normal. But still, I think what happens with castor oil is that the castor oil that you put on your skin is absorbed by the lymph nodes that are just underneath the skin and carried down into deeper lymph channels and then down into the healing channels of the body for the liver, the intestine, and the bladder, and so on. So that what starts when you put castor oil on your skin is a process of cleansing the body down the path that castor oil is going to travel as it goes from the skin to the lymph nodes to the lymph channels and on out. So it's a very understandable, normal, everyday process that goes on when you put castor oil on it. It's why if when my oldest daughter was starting her freshman year, I got a letter back from her after she'd been in college for about a month, and she says, "You know what? I'm using castor oil on my face, and it works better than all the creams these other kids have."
People have told me that as well, that it's wonderful. I mean, it seems like it's wonderful. You can use it for anything. There's just such a wide spectrum of what you can use it for. And so, Gladys, would you be willing to talk with us a little bit about the Temple Beautiful program that you all did as part of the A.R.E clinic for a bit, where I'm imagining you are using castor oil in a myriad ways there, but we haven't been able to replicate anything like that program with the consistency and depth that you all did for those years. And I would love to hear a little bit about your memories of that and feelings of what it offered, what it achieved.
Thank you for asking me about that, because my dream and for the future of what I'm going to be continuing to do is creating a village for living medicine, which will be the outcome of the kind of things that we did at the A.R.E clinic when we had the Temple Beautiful and we had the Temple of Sacrifice.
Yeah.
So I took care of the Temple of Sacrifice, but we couldn't call it that. Nobody would come to that. So we called it the Creative Living Program. And that was a 10-day program. And people came and stayed at the Oak House, and we ate there and slept there and dreamt there and talked about dreams. It had meditations and so on. But the medical work that that they were looking for went on at the A.R.E clinic, where we had skilled therapists who could work with people in the process of looking at their medical aspect in conjunction with the ongoing spiritual connection that was the connecting of the physician within them to themselves. That was done through their dreams through the talks we had at the breakfast table, at the dinner table, all of that sort of thing. And the amazing thing about these groups was that they were somehow divinely orchestrated, so that the people that came to the different ones were selected someplace in the ethers because they exactly fit into having a community of about 12 people who were working with pretty much the same issues each time. And it was one of these really miraculous, ongoing, living processes that for those of us who were people working with the people who were coming through the programs, just in awe of. Every time it was something very special for each person that came through. And they met people who after they went through their dreams and so on, they recognized from eons back. You know, I mean, there was this kind of an overlay of loving, healing processes that went on during those. And we expect to recreate that in the Village for Living Medicine.
Yeah. So the Village for Living Medicine, it sounds like it's similar to what you all were doing with the Temple Beautiful, where there's this specific care that's being given, medicine and therapy and, working with the physical body. And then there's this kind of supplementary or parallel work that's being done, contacting the physician within, like you said, and really working with bringing in these other modalities of the spiritual and connection to each other through community and all of, is that?
And it was so interesting.
Yeah.
Because not only were individual people introducing themselves to each other in the program, but each one of them was introducing themselves to the physician within them.
Yeah.
It was that a way in which, who would have thought of that except Edgar Cayce's work that pointed us to it, that within each of these people, and we've, recognized it for our whole patient load. But in these programs, we came together as kindred souls, meeting each other and meeting ourselves as an individual person. It was remarkable. Yeah. Awesome.
That's so beautiful. And just the ripple effects from that, where everyone gets to meet that inner physician and the great spirit and the great surgeon. And you've had so many pivotal moments in your life. And one of them early on that you described was the moment you saw Gandhi and the love emanating from his whole being. And I just wanted to hear you, we were hoping just to hear you describe it. And because it's such an inspiration to hear about it. And I feel like when people hear that, they also helps them see that love within themselves, so that this ripple effect of like seeing that light and love within each of us can continue to emanate throughout the world. So can you describe what that felt like and what, like, in your body and your mind when you saw him?
I'd love to. I was 10 years old. We were on the train leaving India to come to the United States because every 6.5 years, my parents had a furlough and they came back to spend time with their families, which otherwise they wouldn't, meet for another 6.5 years. So they were all happy about it. And I didn't like it one bit because I didn't want to leave India. And I was on the train and I had my face we moved into this train station and slowed down. The train was slowing down. And I've got my face plastered at the window looking out, because in India, there are always crowds of people, but there was this whole crowd of people following somebody who was walking in the front, just clothed in a dhoti, which is the loincloth, with a staff, and just he was walking ahead, and people were saying, Gandhi ji, Gandhi ji. I didn't hear what they were saying. I didn't know what they were saying. But I just saw this man in front of this huge crowd, and a little girl had picked a flower, and she was reaching up with this flower to Gandhiji, and he had taken it from her and looked up. And as he looked up, he looked straight into my eyes. Now, I can't prove this to anybody. I can't prove it to Gandhi or anybody else, except to Gandhi and I connected at that point, and I knew that we connected. I mean, it was a 10-year-old awareness that this is very, very special. So it was, to me, it was kind of stop crying about what's going on. This is something that is really important. And that hit me, and I knew it, and it was carried on into the time when the partition of India took place, and my parents were able to work with Gandhi on that partition, as they were people, the Hindus were killing the Mohammedans, and Mohammedans killing Hindus. It was a terrible, terrible time. And they had a medical process that they went around and took care of people and shared the platform with Gandhi when he was calling to his people to, look at each other and reclaim who they are. And because of the connection that, in my mind, as a little girl, connected with Gandhi at that time, I felt that that connection had carried on until my parents were working with Gandhi. And Gandhi gave my dad, as a gift, a Panipat a blanket, and my mother a Kashmiri shawl, which I have upstairs. So it's that kind of a loving gift that reaches across time and space and connects souls.
Yeah. As I was listening to you tell that story, Gladys, I was thinking about one of the secrets from your book that has been such a gift to me in my life, where where you're sort of naming that life wants to move, like that there's always energy that's moving, and that to get in line with it. I think so often, I know in my life and so many people, we can feel this stuckness, and we can go to this place in our minds of, this is so bad, or how do we fix it? Like you were saying, in India during that time, the fighting and the killing and the not seeing each other, but that there is something that can move, that wants to move, that there's a trickle, like you describe, and to kind of find that trickle and go toward it, give yourself to it. And that kind of goes into this other secret that you offer, that's like the wildness of spending your energy and sort of giving into this that's transcendent, like you're saying, that goes beyond our ability to conceive of it at a cognitive, intellectual, logical level, but that willingness to look for what wants to move and let the rest go, not focus on the problem, but find the movement.
And you'll never find it unless you start looking for it.
Yeah.
Because it's sort of like if you're carrying a bag of hurt and pain and sorrow and all that over your right shoulder, and you keep looking back at that bag,
Yeah.
you're going to get a stiff neck.
Yeah.
You're going to get stuck like that because that's what's important to you. But if you can understand that's there, and okay, you've got it there, but you're going to not, that's not your focus. You're going to look forward to the light.
Right.
And I think that now what people are beginning to do is to reach for their true humanity.
Yeah.
Because I have this idea. This isn't a theology. It's not something that's an edict. It's just an idea in my head. Okay. When God, whatever God is to each one of us, created us, and the universe, He created the universe, and it was beautiful. It was perfect. Everything was just the way it was supposed to be. And then He decided that, she, that there need to be some other being. And that's why He created the human being. And He said to us, He said, now, this universe is perfect. Everything is just the way it's supposed to be. It's beautiful. It's exactly right. And now I'm creating you as the only beings on this universe that have free choice and free will. So therefore, I give you dominion over this amazing process of the earth and the universe, and you now have dominion over here and to take care of this process. And we, in our arrogance, decided that meant dominance. And we know, oh boy, we could take care of this. And that's what we've done to Mother Earth. And poor Mother Earth has struggled with this all these times as we have been misusing what God gave us as something that we could do and do to Mother Earth, not for. And the wonderful thing about love is not thinking about what you do to people. It's thinking about what you could reach forward and do for people.
Yeah.
And it's that movement of life force forward that keeps life going and moving and becoming more life, because life and love have to move.
Right.
And they have to move forward.
Right. Right. And your village for living medicine, it feels like that life reaching toward itself in that way. Just so many people, their health and well-being, all their whole health, spiritual, mental, emotional, and physical, so intertwined. As we think about the loneliness and suffering, pain that so many people feel, this, the village, which is such a beautiful visual in and of itself, for living medicine, that for reaching toward itself and inviting. I wonder, like, what does it look like for you to invite people toward that as a vision to hold in their own lives?
Well, let me put it in context with a story. I always have a story.
Wonderful.
My oldest son is a retired orthopedic surgeon, okay? And when he came through Phoenix on his way down to Del Rio, he was just ready to start his practice. And he said, Mom, I'm real scared. He said, I'm going into the world and I'm going to have people's lives in my hands. He says, I don't know if I can handle that. And I said, well, Carl, if you think you're the one that does the healing, you have a right to be scared. But if you can understand that it's your job to introduce this person that is your patient to the physician within themselves, who then will understand what it is that you are talking about, because you love that patient enough that in a loving way you're presenting it to them, and the physician within that patient can take it and make it what it needs to be. So it's a physician within the patient that will do the actual healing, and you have the responsibility of making that doctor within the patient your colleague, the person that you're working with.
Yeah.
And it was, that kind of understanding that is, I think, really important, so that we as individuals take this information, take this energy that is called love and life, and put it into action in our own lives.
Right. Right. Absolutely. And as you were describing what you were sharing with your son, it was making me think of parenting and my own mothering, right? And I think so much of, similar to a new doctor, parents can often feel that same kind of pressure of, how do I best take care of this little one? What if I mess up? This is so hard, and there's so much to fear out there. And I feel like the guidance that you're offering is just as relevant to parents as if you think it's all on your shoulders about you needing to be the one to do it all, then it's okay to feel scared. But if it's a process of coming to know this soul that you're sharing this space with, and of allowing the wisdom and purpose of that soul to emerge and becoming a collaborator, then it's like a paradigm shift in how you're relating to the path of parenting and
Absolutely. And it's our responsibility to listen to what our children say, because they know why they came into this world. But if we don't acknowledge that and help them go with it, sometimes it's never acknowledged, and sometimes it's downplayed. It's like my number 4 child. He came in, he was 4 years old. He says, "Mama, I know something." And I said, "What's that, Bobby?" He said, "If I make a friend and he makes a friend and he makes a friend, it's going to go all around the world and come back to me." Of course, he's a psychologist. He has the Human Potential Center, and he's been working with this all his life. He just took the next step. And then my son, John, who's here, came in. He was about 7, and he says to me, "I wish Jesus was here." And I said, "Well, I do too." "Why you?" He says, "Because I've got questions." And I says, "Well, try me. Maybe I can help you." Oh, he says, and I says, "Well, just try me. See what happens." So, okay. How can God be if he never got started? And I said, "Oh." Well, yes. Maybe it's like a big circle. It doesn't have an ending or an ending. He says, "I knew you didn't have the answer." It's, as parents, these children are coming in with that kind of questions.
Yeah.
If we can understand them and can begin to work with them in just pointing them in the direction, they'll find it. But they need to have a safe environment and to express in which they can express this. And they can get into big battles between themselves about whether they're what they think it is right or wrong. But that's life.
My daughter asked me the exact same question. And yeah, they know so much. When you were talking about the he, she, God, and in your book you wrote about femifesting and manifesting. And so you've been so gracious in your description and how you look at and feel about all that you've done in your life, and including your marriage, and then after your marriage, and then since then, you've continued to blossom in the last quarter century. And I'm just wondering, is there anything that you would like to add to the history of anything with the A.R.E., any other work that you've done, um, that includes her story? So is there anything that you would like to contribute to that, even like looking back? Is there something, because your voice is so influential and inspiring and powerful. So, yeah, I was just wondering, is there anything
Well,
else you would like to include for her story?
it's the reason I wrote this book, because
Mhm.
I've written all of these medical books, but they didn't have the essence of what it was all about. In
Mhm.
other words, the juice of why I had done the things that I had done and talked about them and all was not really in there. I needed another way of saying it. So
Mhm.
that's really why this new book came out, um, because it's, the Christ had to become flesh and dwell among us in order for the reality of the human consciousness becoming something that we could really recognize. And all of the fighting and all of the stuff that goes on about abortion and so on,
Mhm.
that's ridiculous. If abortion is done as a loving act where you are honoring that child and honoring your own process of working with that child and giving the child the opportunity to leave or not leave if they is not to be this time. There's a whole process that we could go through so that it is a loving, living aspect to our lives. Write
Mhm.
the baby a letter, write the baby a song, talk to the baby. If you decide that, and you make the decision that write the rights and wrongs of it, write it all down, put it down, go over a whole process, and then connect with the baby and say, this is what we're facing, you and I, and
Mhm.
this is, uh, I would like to have your opinion on this and how can we do this together. And the possibility is, if you accept my loving outreach as I reach to you and you want to leave and then come back another time or something, I mean, just what is right for you, not
Right.
what I'm saying, but some kind of communication
Mhm.
that you can make with a loving heart
Mhm.
with this baby that's wanting to come in right now, and then go ahead with the procedure or not, or the baby, time after time, in my experience and the experience of many OBGYN people, the baby will leave by itself and she'll have
Mhm.
spontaneous miscarriage
Mhm.
or have an abortion and not carry the horrible concept that we're presenting to people when we say that an abortion is a sin or whatever we choose to judge other people by.
Mhm.
That actually living process that we can use as the whole, not just as, but in the whole process of healing
Mhm.
and life,
Yeah.
because life is what we're looking for.
Right. Right. I hear in what you're saying, Gladys, something that I felt when I've been in your presence before, which is this just such an empowered sense of not being bound by ideas or rules or constrictions or these stuck places, but really giving ourselves permission and freedom to choose to trust ourselves, to know ourselves, and to make choices and take action that allows that truth that we experience in ourselves to become our life, what our life looks like, and the choices that we make. And I remember you were at maybe this was the last time you were in Virginia Beach. You were, I believe you were 99, because my children were with me and they were so impressed that you were 99 and enamored of being in your presence. But we were sitting in my parents' living room, and my father had died not too long ago, and I was still really grieving and broken and unsure about the future. And I remember saying to you, we were talking about the work of the A.R.E. and my role within it, and I said, I just don't know what I can do. I don't know how to help or what to what to do. And you just looked at me and you said, you can do whatever you want. You can do whatever you want. And and I felt that same feeling again of like, put down the stuck places, Corinne. And it stayed with me as I've navigated my life without my father in this work. And so I just wanted to express my gratitude for you. I'm sure I'm one of thousands and thousands who you've said something like that too, that's been meaningful in terms of the freedom that we feel to live into life and love and the opportunities that are before us, and how empowered we can feel to make it our own in a way that feels true to us. So
And
thank you.
that's the way it works. Your father, when we met
Mm-hmm.
as Bill and your dad and I,
Mm-hmm.
we became a trio. We really respected each other. We
Yeah.
teased each other. We had more fun together, I think, than it, was wonderful. He gave me the opportunity
Mm-hmm.
to say what I could say to you.
Yeah.
You see,
Mm-hmm.
because he had said it to me, basically.
Yeah.
Maybe
Yeah.
not the same words,
Right.
but basically, when we met Hulin
Mm-hmm.
and started talking Edgar Cayce stuff,
Yeah.
our language changed,
Yes.
and
Yes.
the language that we talked around our dinner table was completely different from what it had been.
Yeah.
The kids would come in with questions.
Mm-hmm.
And we had amazing people around our dinner table who
Yeah.
could help answer them in their own way or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's that opportunity to recognize life and love the way it is, and then grab hold of it and
Right.
move with it.
Yeah.
That's it's so awesome. It's like seeing the two of you.
Mm-hmm.
What joy this is.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It really has been. Thank you so much, Gladys, for all your time and wisdom, guidance
Yeah,
today.
well,
Yeah.
I'm grateful for every day that I am here to carry on the work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
It's being so divinely orchestrated now with what the book is doing to take its message around the world is just awesome.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Awesome.
It is. It is.
Absolutely.
It is, Gladys. And this book, how you say what you say in this book is, again, breaking a new frontier. Like you are a pioneer again in terms of making accessible and available to everyone these truths about the nature of health and the nature of happiness. And it's just I'm so glad that it is being so received in the way that it should be. It's so deserving in every way, and it is such a gift to us, Gladys, to us all.
To say something.
Just that the paperback version comes out next week.
Yes. The paperback version comes out next week, which is so exciting as well. So if if any listeners have not yet gotten a copy, please, now is just the very best time to do it. I keep this book on my bedside table, and it really has trickled in to impact how I move moment by moment through my day. And I feel it so deeply. I feel the readings, maybe as an echo back there in terms of the material from the readings that has stood out to me as guiding principles. Yeah.
You can pre-order it now, and then it'll arrive on April 2nd to your door.
April
Oh,
2nd.
wonderful. Yeah, it's so all-encompassing. I've been recommending it to my patients, my friends, my colleagues, other loved ones, because there's a depth of what you cover, and we're all craving to have these kinds of conversations where we can talk about the most important things in our lives and also the difficult things in our lives, but to approach them all with such love and light and that consciousness and awareness of the soul.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one that wanted to talk to Jesus and when he was 7.
Yeah, and he got you. All right.
Funny.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for this time today. This has been such a wonderful conversation. Such an awesome conversation.
Your dad was such fun.
Uh-huh.
We were at Sillamar the last time. I mean, we were old people by then.
Uh-huh.
And we were on the dance floor and everybody was dancing and singing.
Mm-hmm.
And he decided that he wanted to do Bumps a Daisy. Well, he was going to do Bumps a Daisy. I did it too. And I Bumps a Daisy him so hard. He went sliding across the floor and had to hang on to the piano before.
That's amazing. I can see that.
Can you see your dad doing that?
I can. Bumps a Daisy. Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.